As promised, you are very brief. Now, Honorable Minister. Honorable Minister, please.
Sir, I extend my thanks to all the members who participate in the deliberation for passing of this bill. First of all, I would also like to extend my thanks to former Finance Minister, Sri Chidambaram Sahab, and then other members.
Yes.
Sir, some of the issues raised, very important issues were raised by honorable member Chidambaram Sahab with respect to providing upper limit on the fee for late filing. Sir, this is related to clause 80 of the bill and section 403 of the Act. Basically, the earlier provision allowed for a period of up to 300 days for filing and payment of additional fees without any, prosecution. This was viewed as having led to increase in non-compliance by companies, especially with respect to filing of annual returns, financial returns. The changes will bring the necessary seriousness in companies in ensuring timely filing. The original Companies Act also does not provide for any upper limit to the amount of filing fee which can be imposed. However, government takes the care to remove that any prosecution fees by the genuine companies are addressed timely. Sir, the second point was with respect to the relative of auditors. This is related to with respect to clause 42, section 141(2) of the Act. Basically, the original section is in the Companies Act 2013 is being retained. I would like to inform the honorable member it is being retained. The amendment proposed before the introduction in the Lok Sabha has been dropped. It was suggested by the stakeholders, basically at the time, particularly auditors, that the disqualification on account of relative shareholding, etc., with the company was impracticable, too stringent. The proposed original amendment were deleting the requirement there should have been an abuse. It is therefore proposed to not to amend the provision and difficulties, if any, removed by threshold of the shareholding in a company through rules, if required. Whenever it is required, we can do it. This would examine that the independence provisions are not diluted unnecessarily. And next point which was raised is with respect to insider trading. This is with respect to clause 64 and 65, section 194 and 195. But I would like to inform the honorable member that this has also been omitted, because reason being the SEBI through its regulation provides compulsorily for checking insider trading and forward trading. The Companies Law Committee examined this issue in detail, and it has been provided that the appropriate reply be listed companies, it will be amount to a duplication. So once we provide in companies law, and at the same time the SEBI regulations and rules and act also provide the same thing, and the listed companies are being governed by the SEBI Act. In case of inconsistency between SEBI Act and the Companies Act, then the SEBI Act will have an overriding effect with respect to this issue. So that's why it is not required here. Sir, the next point raised by member is with respect to loans to directors. It is related to clause 61 of the bill and section 185 of the Act. The absolute ban on a company giving loan to related entities create problem for normal genuine business also. In order to ensure that there are adequate safeguards it has been included in the amendment that a special resolution is passed, because to raise the finance of the company, it is working is also very necessary. A special resolution is required to be passed. The amount raised is used only for the purpose of principal business activities of a company. It can't be used for other purposes. Loans can be extended to the individual of a, it can't be extended to the individual of the partnership firm. So this is with the sufficient safeguard have already been provided. And the next point raised was with respect to the relating to private placement. This is with reference to clause 10 of the bill, section 42 of the act. Basically, the private placement is a mode of raising finance, has been an essential part of the Companies Act. It executes its Companies Act. It also provides, it existed in the Act of 1956, the earlier Companies Act, and also in the Companies Act of 2013. The proposal is for reducing procedural difficulties while retaining the safeguards of the maximum number of the person in company can approach for the purpose, and stringent penalty for violation etc. is provided. So there is no worry on this part also. So far as the independent director's part is concerned, it relates to clause 46 of the bill, section 149 of the act. The changes basically aim at retaining the independent requirement but removing the difficulties on account of absolute distance from a company. The provision is basically appointing an independent director is not applicable to smaller companies. It is not applicable to smaller companies, but only to a larger companies, so there was no issue is there. The concept of materially with respect to the independent director is also accepted in SEBI regulation. The materially of 10% is with respect to the independent director is not the company. And sir, about this points raised about this with respect to the issue raised by Honorable Member Mr. Sanjay Seth, about the earlier period of 60 days in Act may be retained. Basically, I would like to say on this issue that change also empowered the central government to prescribe higher or lower period of as required. Thus, in order to provide flexibility along with the ease of doing business, the provision of the bills needs to be retained without change, and this has been deliberated in the committee. And so far as the women director, presently they are from promoter's family, outsider may also be allowed. On this issue, I would like to say that the section 149 applicable to listed and large public companies simply provide for at least one woman director on the board. This promotes gender diversity and has been considered very important. The flexibility provided to a large company may be retained and no change may be needed. And so far as there is no restriction on an outsider being allowed. And so far as the issue raised by Honorable Member Sri Vivek Gupta, definition of resident director, what is the rationale of change? On this issue, provision on resident director have been revised in view of the Companies Laws Committee recommendation to remove following inconsistency in the current year and not the previous year. Basically, the stay of 180 days should be with respect to the financial year and not the calendar year. Resident director for newly incorporated company period of 80 days should be applied proportionately. Therefore, these ambiguities are being removed through amendment bill, so nothing to worry about it. This has been problem has been redressed in the bill itself. Now, the next Honorable Member Sanjay Seth has also raised this new kind of identity number is being proposed. This may create confusion. But in this connection, I would like to point out that the proposed clause 47 and 48 merely seeks to empower central government to prescribe any better identification number if needed. So this may be implemented if needed after due consultation. It is difficult to get the IDs in small companies, so provisions for IDs are applicable only to listed and large public companies, and it is not applicable for the small companies. So far as Honorable Member Vivek Gupta has also raised this tax law requisite mentioning of the specific object, how the bill address this problem. So in view of the recommendation of the Standing Committee, Parliament Standing Committee on Finance, the requirement of mentioning object specifically is being retained. Earlier it was proposed that it to be amended, but finally it was decided in view of the recommendation of the Parliamentary Standing Committee that this provision should require to be retained. So these companies would be continuing to state that specific object. Now earlier we have in fact provided amendment that they are not required to state the specific object, but the provision has been retained, earlier provision that they are required to state the specific object in the memorandum of association. Therefore the suggestion made by has already been redressed. So another suggestion is by Mr. Vivek Gupta that deposit insurance provision is being removed. This need to be, so far the deposit part is concerned, it is a related provisions of the Act and rules provide for the adequate safeguard for investors. Non-compliance is being made non-compoundable offense. So the stringent provisions are there. Since insurance companies have not been offering any insurance product for the company's deposit, on the recommendation of the company's law, the provision of deposit insurance was decided to omit it. And finally, sir, with respect to Sri Tapan Kumar Sen Saab, he has also raised the issue with respect to the CSR, and the CSR issue have also been raised, but certain exceptions are there in the Act itself with respect to this investing or spending the CSR amount in other areas. It is not a mandatory requirement that the CSR amount can only be spent in where the industry is situated or where a company is situated. It can be spent at other places also. The question was also raised by honorable members.
His point is that the companies are not spending. Companies are not spending in rural areas. What do you do for that?
So I would also like to inform that our ministry has taken the action. We have also issued the notices to all the companies who are not spending. But since this is a new law, this law was enacted first time in 2014. Therefore, just a minute. Yes, just a minute. Please listen. Just a minute. Because this is basically this is a law. We have to basically we have to persuade this. We can't mandatorily made it because for initial period of
you are making mandatory it for public sector companies.
Just a minute, please listen. Then thereafter. So, but question is so initial for period of 2 or 3 years. We are persuading the companies and make them acquainted that this is a provision. Most of the and just a minute, and for some of the companies, not more. Some of the companies they could not spend their CSR.
You can't enforce it.
No. We have issued the notices. We have issued the notices and actions. Just a minute. And just a minute. Yes. But the total number of companies, these active companies are 11,74,000. And out of those companies, and some of the companies who are covered, and some of the companies who are covered under the CSR spending, and with respect to all those, just a minute, Mr. Jara.
Yes, 1 second.
CSR has become PSR. It has become political social responsibility. And this is the greatest danger in CSR, that politicization of what the company should spend, where they should spend, particularly if you are public sector companies. I should think that this is time for an independent audit to make sure that the original objectives of CSR are being fulfilled.
Sir, this is my
only point
I would like to...
Okay, nothing more. Now, Honorable Minister, the only point is you kindly examine whether you can enforce this company so that they spend it in other areas also, rural areas also.
Yes, sir. So that's why I'm making it clear. The law provides, if you see the section 135, along with the schedule attached with the schedule in the Companies Act, it is specifically provided, and a requisite amendment has been made, and it is provided that if companies, it is not mandatory for the company to spend the CSR in the same area. And exceptions are there. If they want, they can go outside that area, number one.
If they want.
Okay. But question is, and for the purpose where they can spend, my honorable member is saying that they are using the policy. It is not so, because under the schedule, the items where they can spend, how they can spend, and under which activities they can take. All the activities have been provided under the schedule, so they can't go beyond that schedule.
Okay.
And apart from this, the companies who have not spent their CSR amount, we have just a minute, we have already issued notices to 180 companies, and those actions is being taken against those companies who have not spent the CSR amount, and that is in the pipeline. So it is wrong to say that the CSR amount, no action is being taken by the government against those companies. We are taking the action against those companies. And so far the shell companies is concerned, the issue has also been raised with, but just a minute, bhai, just you.
No.
But this is not
sit down.
You have been
Minister is not yielding.
And again,
Minister is not yielding. Sit down. Minister is not yielding. Sit down.
I am not yielding. Yes. Now, sir, the question was also raised by Honorable Member D. Rajya with respect to the shell companies. I would like to say that since for last 70 years, this is the first time that under the able leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Bhai Modi, this first time we have taken this action, and we have issued notices to 2,97,000 companies. And a window was provided that they can comply. In case of non-compliance, they can make the compliance. Some of the companies have submitted their compliances. Around 70,000 companies submitted their compliance, and thereafter we have stuck up around 2,25,000 companies, and subsequent action, because the action taken under 248 of the Companies Act. Thereafter, with respect to, and this bank account has also been freezed. And we are also investigating with respect to the account of those companies. We have also revealed that some of the companies, and at one place, some of the companies having 400 addresses. One company having the 2,100 bank account, and one company deposited around 3,700 rupees during the demonetization and withdrawn. Just
3,700 rupees.
3,700 crores, sir. 3,700 crores deposited during demonetization and withdrawn. And one company deposited during demonetization 2,484
you
crores.
You take action against them.
It shows that why the demonetization, now it is being proved that the decision taken by the government with respect to demonetization was the correct. And slowly we will find that around 3,80,000 crore rupees, some of the bank accounts are still under suspect, and those are being investigated. So it is wrong to say that no action is taken against the shell companies. We have taken the action against the shell companies, and all these actions, and some of the matters, some of the matters we found those serious matters were there. Those matters have already been referred to the Serious Fraud Investigation Office, and the action will be taken against them also. So this is the first time this government has taken, and government is committed.
Let him complete. Let him complete. Let him. Yeah.
But yes. But this is, I'm not saying that all money has not come, but I'm saying with respect to the suspect account. So those accounts are being investigated. So I'm not saying that with respect to the return of the money.
Okay,
I'm saying with respect to the suspect account.
All right. Okay.
And sir, so the other members have also raised very important issue, but due to the paucity of the time, I am not in position to respond it. Thank you very much, sir. Now the bill, it will may kindly be passed.
Okay. Now, okay. Yes.